Next up, we've got LtBoa in his KV5, another tank I haven't featured on the channel in a long time, but LtBoa, according to the email that was sent in, promises to show us how good the armor is on the KV5 since it got buffed. I saw a Jingles video recently where he was talking about he wasn't aware that the KV5 got buffed in a recent patch, at least armor-wise. I wasn't aware either. That was complete news to me, but LtBoa is going to be showing us how good the armor can be on a KV5 since it's buffs. I don't know what patch it happened in, but we are here on Fjords. We're going to go. He's top tier, tier 8 game. 1 RT on the enemy team. Yeah, okay, so not exactly a quick maneuverable tank, but it looks as if LtBoa is going to be maybe doing some side scraping and receiving a lot of hits, a lot of damage. But anyway, let's get back to these questions. Where was I? Foreplay wants to know, will I ever do some platooning with my fans? Well, what I'm planning to do on Thursday is time when we enter games, so that anyone watching might be able to try and enter the game with the platoon. So maybe if you don't get on the same team, you'll be on the enemy team. I don't know. I'll announce the time or the tier and count down as to when to enter the game, at least on YouTube, because YouTube is live. There's a delay on Twitch. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do. You could try and get into games with me, but I'm going to be platoon. As for platooning with fans, maybe. I'm never going to say no, because for a long time I always had a queue of platoon mates, people I knew, people either in my community, there were always people to platoon with, but recently a lot of the people I platoon with have stopped playing World of Tanks. They've quit World of Tanks and they're playing other games, so occasionally I log in now and I find myself short of platoon mates, so never say never. Never say never. It might be possible I'll announce it on Facebook. Maybe if I'm playing and I'm looking for platoon mates, I'll announce it on Facebook and say, anyone who wants to play, first one to message me, get into World of Tanks and send me a friend invite or something. So, I'm never going to say no. Platooning with some fans, not something I've done very much, but, maybe I'll be doing it in the future, who knows. And on Thursday, you'll have the opportunity to get into games with the Chieftain, myself, Dreadshells, Beyond D, anyone else who shows up. Moving on, next question. This one's from Juz1. Do you have a T-34-85M? Yes, I have one. I reviewed it. It's done. That's pretty much it. that's pretty much the question. Do I have one? Yes, it's not very good. In fact, there's absolutely no point in playing or buying a T-34-85M because the Rudy exists, and the Rudy is much better. If you're not going to buy a tier 8 premium medium tank for the Russians, then buy the Rudy. If you don't buy the Rudy, then still don't buy the T-34-85M. It's awful. Really underpowered. Waste of money. So anyway, moving on. Next question is from Indrek Puss. Forgive me for getting your name wrong, but Indrek Puss. Good vid, thanks. Wanted to ask what XBM hitlog mod I'm using. I'm not quite sure when this question came in. It was just on a list of questions, but I used to use Solo's mod pack, and recently I just stopped because Solo hasn't updated his mod pack in some time. I don't even know if Solo has updated his mod pack for 9.16. Oh, what a ram kill! Oh, awesome LtBoa. Ram kill with the butt of the KV5 on the Cromwell. Mod pack. I used to use Solo's mod pack. I don't even know if Solo's mod pack has been updated for 9.16. The mods in-game, or the additions Wargaming have made, mean that really there isn't as much need for mods now as there were. So there are a couple of mods I kind of miss, but not much. I can't believe he's taking a lot of hits. Look at the armor bouncing here. Oh dear, KV5 on the rampage. Yeah. Oh, and a fire. Very nice. That's pretty much the answer. I don't use any mods at the moment other than XBM. Moving on. Steam Freak 1 wants to know, what keeps my interest in World of Tanks? I'm over 35k games, still enjoy the game a lot regardless of annoying teammates and bots. Yeah, annoying teammates and bots, yeah, they can annoy me too, but you know, quite often, you know, what you think is a bot is just not a bot. It's just someone who really enjoys playing tanks but hasn't bothered learning how to play the game. And that is the thing that annoys me. That is the thing that annoys me. It's basically, I like to be as good at something as I can possibly be. So even when I first started playing World of Tanks, I was watching streams, I was watching videos, I was learning about the tanks, I was learning about the mechanics. I wanted to know how to play tanks well or how to play them better. You know, it occurred to me that World of Tanks is, you know, pretty much like every other type of video game out there. You know, for example, an MMO, in that you've got different classes of tanks. You know, light tanks, what are light tanks for? What are heavy tanks for? What are tank destroyers for? And so the first thing I learned was basically the classes and what the classes should be used as, or how to play the classes. And then I realized that certain tanks within those classes don't play. You know, it's not quite as simple as being a light tank and scouting, or being a TD and sniping. You could have a TD that's well armored, better armored than any other tank on your team, and then you've got to play it like a heavy tank. So really, the classes of tanks were something I learned. It keeps me interested. New tanks, new contents keeps me interested. So yeah, what keeps my interest in World of Tanks, it's just every single time you play, it gets a little bit better, regardless of annoying teammates and bots. Every game is different. Every game can have a different outcome. It gets annoying. It really gets annoying when you constantly get onto weaker teams, and I'm not a player who's good enough to carry. So, you know, I find it very, very difficult to carry games because my skill level is not there. You gotta remember, I'm an older guy, so, you know, sometimes my reflexes aren't quite as good. Sometimes I'm tired, and basically, I'm tired and fail to look at the minimap, and as a result make mistakes. So I find it a little bit harder to carry, or harder to make those decisions that allow me to win games even when I'm on a bad team. But it's still a very, very enjoyable experience. Every game is different, every tank is different. Every time you hop into a new tank, you know, it's a slightly different experience, it's a new adventure. So really, that's what keeps me interested. You know, having a lot of tanks. You know, the game modes, I think, have been a big failure. You know, really the only game mode I play is random battles, because I think anything else that Wargaming have added has been not well received. I don't know why, but I don't enjoy playing other game modes for more than a few minutes. But yeah, I still come back to World of Tanks, even when I'm burned out. Something attracts me back to the game. So yeah, what keeps my interest? I think just the variety of tanks, the history behind the tanks, you know, and it's unlike pretty much any other game, in that you can just log in. Even if you're stuck for time and you have half an hour, you can log in and get 2 or 3 games played in half an hour, and then log out and go and do whatever else you're doing. It's not like League of Legends or something where a single game is going to take 2 hours to get through. You know, you can basically log in, play 2 or 3 games, and then log out again. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I enjoy the game. So pretty good result. He did 3k damage there, 4 kills for LtBoa. It was an ace in the KV-5 and a steel wall, and this replay was all about the KV-5's armor. Okay, so let's see how LtBoa did. 1465 XP, really, really nice. 3k damage, well done. And let's see now, 20 shots received and 17 bounces. Yep, KV-5's armor got a buff. Nice reverse ram kill on a Cromwell as well. He spotted 5, damaged 8, destroyed 4, did almost 2,000 assistance damage, 53 base cap points, and finished up with almost 102,000 credits. Wasn't firing any premium whatsoever in that game, so ammo costs cheap, repair costs cheap, and big money earning, which refers to a couple of questions I answered earlier. So yeah, really good result on a ×3 as well, which left him on 7k damage, or 7k XP. Really well played, LtBoa. I'm going to have to hop into the KV-5. I'm going to have to play the KV-5. I need to play it while it's still buffed and before Wargaming nerf it again. But to cut a long story short, Steam Freak, every time you play World of Tanks, it's different different tanks, different opposition, different maps. I know you can get sick of the same maps, you can get sick of grinding the same tank, but you don't have to. You don't have to grind the same tank. You can play something else. So you never know what's going to happen. When you click play, you never know what's going to happen. And that's one of the things that keeps me interested. Okay, time to move on. And finally, we're getting there, guys. I believe I only have I have three more questions, and that should be it. So this is the final replay of the Q&A session. It is Icarus 007. Here's here in his T-54 Mod 1 on Ensk. This is a tank I still believe I've only played one ever game in this, and that was the Ace Tanker. So it's the second time the tank is featuring on the channel, but basically T-54 hull, T-44 turret, and T-44 gun. But I think it's okay. The only downside to the T-54 Mod 1 is the fact it doesn't get special matchmaking, and when it gets into tier 10 games, then it's a little bit, the gun will let you down. But anyway, I don't know what's going to happen. It's another game I've picked out at random, so let's see Icarus and how he does in this particular game, and I'm going to continue with your questions, because first one's pretty easy. Oh, there we go. First one's pretty easy. This is by Lil Bro Hag. Awesome vid Irish, and by the way, do you live in Ireland? So yeah, I covered that. I covered that on a previous Q&A video that was released earlier. So yeah, I'm living in Ireland, but I've lived in many countries. Although I don't know whether you could argue spending 3 months in a country is living there. Maybe an extended visit. So I've lived. Was born in Ireland, but lived all over Ireland. Lived, Midlands, lived cities, lived west, lived all over Ireland, basically. Lived in England for a couple of years. Went to university in England. So lived in England. Lived in Korea for about 8 years. Maybe even 9 years. I'd need to check the map or check the calendar and see how long I've actually lived in Korea. I kind of lost track. So yeah, I've lived in a few different places, but I've had the opportunity to work and travel, and as a result, I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina in the US for 3 months out of a hotel. Lived in Portsmouth for 3 months out of a hotel, again England. Got to travel all over Europe. Never really. I suppose technically I've only lived in 3 countries, because my time there was over a year, over basically 2 years in every instance. But yeah, I'm Irish, and I'm currently living in Ireland. But again, never say never. So anyway, Templar Avenger wants to know, Osirish, have you had a go at Armored Warfare? Are you likely to do any Armored Warfare content on the channel? I have put up a couple of minor Armored Warfare videos, but I appreciate Armored Warfare for what it is. I mean, I would disagree that it's a World of Tanks clone. I think that there are a lot of things in Armored Warfare that are done really well. I really like the fact you don't have nations, the fact that you have dealers who basically can sell you tanks, and it doesn't matter what nation the tank is from. So I enjoy that aspect, because it means that Armored Warfare have a lot more flexibility regarding, they don't have tech trees per se, which means that they're not limited to what tanks they can put in for a certain nation. They can pretty much add whatever tank they want and just add it to a dealer. So, that's something that gives Armored Warfare an advantage over World of Tanks. The RT mechanics are maybe a little bit better in Armored Warfare. Everyone seems to be praising the RT mechanics, but to be honest, the RT mechanics in Armored Warfare, what I've seen of them and what I've experienced of the RT mechanics, is it's just like getting shot by a Burt over and over and over again. So they're rapid firing, low damage, pretty accurate. So that's pretty much what Burt is in World of Tanks. So I don't know whether I'd enjoy getting hit by a Burt constantly in Armored Warfare, but I haven't spent that much time in the game. I enjoy the base building aspect, the fact that you can build a base using resources, and that base, facilities, equipment you get can improve your stats, can improve your credit earning, your experience earning in-game. I enjoy that aspect. It's very RPG. So yeah, there's a lot of things that Armored Warfare kind of do well, but my main issue with Armored Warfare isn't the game itself. It's the fact that I've invested a lot of time and money in World of Tanks. I've also time is a resource. Time is a it's not an infinite resource. It's basically got limits, and I find it very difficult to find time to play World of Tanks as much as I want to, let alone play another game that's grindy and involves tanks. So that is the biggest issue I have with Armored Warfare, is that while I don't think it's as similar to World of Tanks, I really like what LtBoa, or what Icarus 07 has been doing in this game, by the way. Lots and lots of track shots, lots and lots of pinning tanks in place. Yeah, but the issue with Armored Warfare is it's just a grind game, and the problem is I'm playing one of those at the moment, and I really only have room in my life for one grind game at a time. And then occasionally I'll play some other game, like an indie game, but that's it. I mean, Armored Warfare, probably we're hoping to get a lot of World of Tanks subscribers, and then sort of underestimated the fact that so much time and effort has been spent on World of Tanks accounts. And players were kind of maybe a little bit more unwilling to give up their accounts in order to play a completely different game. So, yeah, I don't know. So Armored Warfare, never say never. I don't play it. I haven't played it in months and months and months. But I might pop in occasionally. You know, who knows? If I do pop in, I'll be sure to record it. So moving on. And this is a huge question. Osirish, do you think World of Tanks has gotten better? Now, this is from Artillery Bugs. Yeah, so there's a lot to this question. Players themselves, gameplay overall, game balance, removal of tanks, TDs, Waffenträger E100, the always awesome matchmaker. Enjoy watching all your videos. I've played for over 4 years now. So I've seen plenty of changes, lots of changes. Some just paint a pretty picture as you play the game, but I feel a lot of the same issues are still there. Yeah, I mean, some of the issues are still there from day one, but I think a lot of the changes in World of Tanks over the years have led to other issues. So it's very hard to address this because there's so many parts, but do I think World of Tanks has gotten bigger? No, or better. No, I don't think it's gotten better. I think it's gotten different. I think it's become more different than the game I originally started playing. There are some aspects that are better, like the mechanics, the physics. I think the physics mechanics have been a huge change to the game. Not only the first round of physics mechanics, but the second round of physics mechanics. Ones originally you couldn't, kill yourself, suicide. You couldn't drive over cliffs. You couldn't drive into water because there were invisible walls all over the place. So that changed the game. And then the additional physics that were added, where you could flip and turn your tank over. That was a huge change. So I think they've changed the game for the better. It's increased the skill level in order to play and understand maps, play and understand tanks. So that's a change I've enjoyed. They've nerfed, in my time, they've nerfed HE, they've nerfed heat. So when I first started playing the KV2, the heat shell on the KV2 had something like 850 damage and 250 penetration on a KV2. So they nerfed that. So I think the heat nerfs and the HE changes were actually, although I was initially skeptical. 5 kills, 4k damage for Icarus 007. This is such a long question. Yeah, I thought the initial HE changes and the heat changes, I was a little bit skeptical, but in the end, no, they've worked out for the better. Once again, I'm skeptical about future changes that Wargaming are thinking of adding regarding the penetration, regarding AP and APCR. So, trying to force people to play more flanking mediums as opposed to being able to kill heavies from the front. That I'm a little bit skeptical. I won't know about till it actually hits the game. So yeah, is the game better? No, I don't think the game is better from when I first started playing it. Graphically, yes. Physics-wise, yes. Nations, number of tanks, yes. But it's still the core game. It's still, the game I enjoyed playing when I first started playing. I enjoy playing tanks, and that's exactly what the game still is. Some of the changes I don't like are maybe the kind of moving away from historical skins and moving towards, cartoony graphics. The UI changes are things I don't like. The colors, some of the skins that have been added for tanks. This new French tank, painted in tricolor, is uh, camo-wise an abomination. Yeah, they're not historically accurate. Some of the inscriptions that you can now get and add to tanks, again, wargaming.league, they're different, they're nice, but they kind of take away from the whole historical aspect of World of Tanks. Yeah, there are some changes I don't like. RT is still a problem. It's always going to be a problem. And really, I think RT, without nerfing HE across the board, I think if RT's HE was nerfed in half, again, at least at the higher tiers, the damage was nerfed by 50%. I think there'd still be problems, but it would improve things. So I don't know. There's a few ideas I have for RT changes that could possibly improve things, but they've already been suggested by other people on the forums, and I don't really want to get into a big RT discussion because this is just a huge, huge question. Is World of Tanks still a good game? Yes. Do I still enjoy playing World of Tanks? Yes. Has it gotten better? A lot of it has. But some things haven't. Players themselves, one thing I don't like, and this is probably going to be a little bit controversial, is I don't like how many specials Wargaming are adding regarding ×3 experience, and you can buy XP boosters in the gift shop and all of that. Which basically encourages people to get to tier 10 quicker. You can't get to tier 10 quickly and learn the game at the same time. The whole idea, the reason I actually enjoyed the grind in the early days was because you learned the game as you ground through the tanks. But now you can spend free XP to free XP your way through the tanks. You can use you can use XP boosters, you can use credit boosters. Wargaming are throwing these things out like free candy, and it means that players can grind their way to the top tiers in literally just about 1,000, maybe 1,500 games. They can get a tier 10 in about 1,500 games, which is absolutely ridiculous. While it's good for people who don't have a lot of free time and don't have a lot of time to play World of Tanks, it doesn't do them any favors getting a tier 10 before they've learned the game mechanics, and struggle their way through the mid-tiers, struggle their way through the higher tiers. That's one aspect of the game I don't like. While, it seems as if I'm criticizing Wargaming for giving away free stuff and fun stuff, I don't think it's doing the player base any favors in the future, because I'm a big proponent, I'm a big supporter of grinding your way and learning the game as you get to tier 10, so that by the time you get to tier 10 you understand the mechanics, you understand the maps, you know where to go, you understand the basics of how to play your tanks, and that's something you don't see at tier 10. So I'm seeing a lot more inexperienced players playing higher tiers over the years, and as a result games are quicker and teams get rolled over, 15-1, 15-2 incredibly quickly, because players have rushed their way to the top tiers thinking top tiers are endgame, when top tiers are not endgame. Top tiers are simply you're doing the same thing at tier 10 as you're doing at tier 1, just the only major difference is the tanks and the maps. So really, there's no endgame, there's no reason to rush to tier 10. Take your time, learn the game, spend time and grind through tanks. Don't free XP tanks ever. You can free XP modules, but don't free XP tanks. And find some tanks you enjoy playing, and then sit back, boost your crew, boost your credits, get equipment you need, buy up equipment, save it in the depot for the tanks you're going to be moving on to. There's so much you need to grind through in this game, and when you see players playing tier 10 with bad crews, very few games played experience-wise, very little equipment, or even playing tier 10 with stock guns. Some of the tanks at tier 10 use stock guns. They're playing tier 10 with stock guns, or they're playing tier 9s with, tier 9 stock. There's no reason to do that. There's no hurry to get to tier 10. So that's one thing I think has has annoyed me, let's just say, regarding Wargaming's changes. The UIs are far more cartoony, far more graphic-y. You know, it looks more like an arcade game as opposed to an historical game. And secondly, the amount of free stuff that Wargaming are giving out. Also, the amount of premium tanks. Wargaming have ramped up the number of premium tanks, and they're bringing out so many French tanks at the moment. And the French tanks, the French tech tree is so underpowered regarding the number of tanks in the tech tree. So did we need an AMX and an M4A1 Revelarize, two tier 8 premium mediums for the French when there aren't any French mediums, very few French mediums in the game in the first place? And now we're getting the FCM 50T and the new tank, which I can't think of the name of right now. It's an AMX variant, but we're going to have two tier 8 French heavy tanks that are premiums. And again, these are single shot guns, but basically we don't have that many French heavies in the game. In fact, they've been removing French tanks. I think the Lorraine 40T should never have been removed. It should have been left in the tech tree somewhere, maybe as an option to branch off from another tank. There was no reason to remove the Lorraine 40T from the game. There are things I disagree with. Back in the days, they used to love adding tanks into the tech trees, and now they seem to be adding far, far more premium tanks than they are actually content into the tech tree. So that's something I'm a little bit disappointed with, but it's still a great game. I think overall, I don't think it has, there are areas of the game that have improved. There are areas of the game that aren't quite as good as they maybe. Nostalgia makes me remember them, but overall, I think it's pretty much the same game, just looks, sounds better, and it can be more fun to play depending on the matchmaker, but I just think there needs to be more emphasis on players learning the basics and learning the games. I think there needs to be a whole new tutorial. So it's such a difficult question, but the fact is, many years later, I've forgotten even when I started playing, but many years later, I'm still playing World of Tanks, and as much as you can get annoyed and burnt out by the game and unhappy with the game, the key thing is you're still playing, so the game still has something to offer, and as I say, some of the improvements have been very positive. Physics, graphics, sound have all been great. The improvements have been good. Some of the content being removed has been bad. Some of the problems still exist regarding the matchmaking for certain tanks. Certain tanks are fine with the current matchmaking, but some tanks are just hideously underpowered. But it's going to be so difficult to make a perfect game, and that's what I don't think people give Wargaming enough credit for. It's going to be very difficult to make a perfect game. People are always going to have problems. People are always going to have issues with the game, whether it's matchmaking or whether it's arty or whether it's premium ammo, whether or not it's so many premium tanks being added, or whether or not it's the lack of historical accuracy. I mean, there are so many things that people could have problems with, and if Wargaming were able to fix one of those issues, people would just move on to the next issue. Overall, the game is playable. It's not broken in any way, and that's the key thing. I mean, I've played games that are broken, that you physically cannot play because of bad game mechanics or because of bugs or because of problems. And Wargaming is World of Tanks is a perfect game, regards playing. Very few technical issues, lots of updates. Wargaming are usually quick to fix any issues that occur. I still think it's a great game. I don't know whether it's better than it was. I'm having as much fun now as I had when I first started playing. So that's probably the best way to answer your question. I've been rambling on. Such a difficult question, and it just means I didn't spend much time on Icarus's 007's game. I'm sorry, dude. It looked like a really, really good game. I enjoyed the side scraping. I enjoyed the brawling as a tier 8 medium up against tier 8 heavies, doing some side scraping. I noticed he was tracking tanks, doing quite well. So that was an ace. He picked up steel wall, picked up high caliber. I finished top on XP with 1484, and a really, really good XP total, 4,290 damage, 5 kills, 28 shots fired, 26 pens, and 20 hits, so our 20 damaging hits, I should say. So really nice damage. You received 11, bounce 7, so that's the T-54's armor for you at tier 8. Spotted 3, damage 9, destroyed 5, 242 assistance damage. Playing with a standard account once again, and 69,000 credits earned, almost 70,000 credits with a standard account. Really well done in in a premium tank. So 1482 on a ×3. Oh, lots of ×3 replays sent in. So very well played, Icarus007. So that's it for the Q&A. Really difficult question right there at the end, and I've been waffling on and on and on, but I believe I've managed to get through all your questions. So now it all starts again. So, if you do have future questions or further questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them on future videos. I'll try not to leave it 6 months before I do it again, but it's nice showing some more of your replays on the channel. I could have just put my games up in the background, but I don't put enough of your replays up, so I thought this was a nice opportunity to do both. I picked replays out at random. The only one I didn't have picked out at random was the very first one, the Super Pershing played by Rabbit Leader, because that was one I was planning to record and I'd actually seen, but the other 5 games that you sent in were just completely picked at random and recorded and put up as I was talking live. So, some of those games might not have been featured otherwise. So, thank you very much for submitting the replays. Thank you very much for letting me show them. Thank you very much for asking questions. And I'm really looking forward to the live stream on Thursday. So if you've got more questions, you can ask me then. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.